Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today, you may have noticed we're not at my house. That's because we're at a fish store and we're going to be rescaping this tank, and joining me to do that today will be the owner of the tank, Douglas.
What's happening, folks? Here we got a 25-gallon JBJ cube. It's been sitting up here for a while, but it's been looking a little rough, so I've seen some of the tanks that Tori's been doing when I'm over at the house, and gotta say they're pretty stellar. So today we're going to put some of her magic in here and see what it looks like.
So first we're gonna go pick out some Hardscape to get inspired, because I'm not really sure what kind of style we're gonna do yet. All right, so in this area he keeps a lot of his wood Hardscape, so we're gonna look at that first.
Looks like we need to re-up.
I don't know how much you want to use. This is kind of cool.
A couple different styles we can go here.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Get some moss over here, get a nice little underhang. Do the cage style. Just so many things you can do with wood.
Also want to pick out some rocks for the scape as well. So I'm just going to look at the different types. He's got quite a few. Kind of like the elephant stone.
Well, while Tori picks out some nice elephant skin stone, let's take a look, shall we? The elephant skin, kind of defined by this scaly, craggly, small feature. If you can see those nice little features there. This very textured rock looks pretty cool. This is a nice flat piece. Could be used as a shelf. Could be used as a wall. You know, you can use it on a couple pieces, build up your arch, cave, whatever you want to do, but pretty cool stuff. Usually when I'm playing with rocks, I try to, you know, look at it from all angles, figure out which way you want to use it. You know, this side's obviously flatter than this side. It's got a little more feature, a little more interest on this side, so I'd probably use this side. But usually I'll kind of try to work with the rock and see its shapes, and then be able to fit those shapes into other rocks so that they look more natural, you know, like it's all one natural feature versus a rock sitting on top of another rock.
Some pieces to play around with over there. So we'll just, I don't know if I'm going to use it all, but just take it over there.
Well, let's take a gander.
All right, we're going to use some of this for the substrate, but we're also going to reuse some of the other substrates, and then probably some sand and some rocks. So I'll show you what we pick out over there. All right, so we found some nice things, and we're going to go ahead and start with some of the old substrate because it already holds a good amount of the beneficial bacteria, so that'll be good. And also so we can build up some height in the back side of the tank. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in a few scoops of that. All right, so that's probably good for height. We're going to go ahead and pour some new aqua soil on top of that, just so that way the plants have some more nutrients. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to go for a triangle composition for this tank. I'm thinking maybe yes, but I might change my mind once I start playing around with the Hardscape. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this on top next. All right, so what we're doing is building up height in the back, because that allows for more of like it creates more dimension to the tank rather than having just like a flat tank. So I'm just going to start putting the rocks in there and seeing what looks good. Thank you. And like Doug was saying earlier, you kind of look at all the different faces of the rock and just decide to you like which one looks most interesting, because you're going to be the one looking at the tank. So I'm just going to start placing them in.
So So another note on the placement of rocks would be, you know, being sure they're in there in some kind of stable fashion. You saw Tori kind of pushing it into the substrate, you know, not just setting it on top. You know, sometimes you build this house of cards with, you know, big, heavy, bulky rocks in a glass box, and things shift. You fill it with water, you pour in your water too heavy during a water change or something, you can topple things. You don't want it crashing in your glass, so try to be sure that it's down, it's going to be solid. You know, if you're stacking rocks on top of each other, you should kind of give them a good little rocking to be sure that, you know, it's not just going to fall apart at a moment's notice. Trying to get this rock to kind of stay that way. So if you want it to stay there and stay at that angle, you may use a smaller piece of rock that goes behind and holds that up. So sometimes I'll grab rocks just for that purpose, just to kind of fill in a gap. Sometimes I'll take a rock to cover up a seam. You have two rocks sitting there and you can kind of see where they meet. You know, sometimes you can get the perfect little rock to just cover that.
All right, so I think I have the rocks where I like them, and I'm gonna add a few more smaller pieces just to add some more details to the scape. What do you think, one more small one on this side, or does it look good like that?
I might try one more. Break up that little patch a little bit.
I don't know, because I don't want them to be in the same line. But I don't have enough soil down here unless I like put it like there.
I need to move this one up a hair.
And then it'll be closer to in line with that one. I'm just gonna put sand in this spot. So this will all be like covered with sand. And a tip to creating a natural looking hardscape is not to like have, like if you're gonna put sand in, don't like just do a straight line, like, because that wouldn't happen really in nature. Like there's like, how would I say that? There's like,
it's called wabi sabi, which is, I believe, the, I don't know, organized chaos of nature. You know, sometimes there's lines, but a lot of times there's not. It just happens with the elegance that nature provides. So, yeah, a lot of times we try to avoid just, you know, straight rigid lines. You know, you want the fluidity of nature.
Just wanted to give you guys a little closer look up at the hardscape, so you can see I did leave plenty of room in the back to plant all the plants, and then also some space in between the rocks for more plants. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your scape.
so ended up not using any wood, so I guess it's kind of like iwagumi type inspired, but not really, because I'm going to be using stem plants. And I also went kind of for the U style composition. I thought I was going to do the triangle, but I changed my mind once I started playing with it. But I'm going to throw in some sands right here in the foreground, because we're not going to do a carpet in this tank. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump in some sand. Spread it out some. Pro tip from Doug: you don't have to buy all the fancy equipment.
I didn't say that, just this gravel spatula.
That's, oh yeah. Anyways. Try to get a nice even layer on the front. I mean, you don't have to, but I like to anyways. And we're gonna go ahead and plant like a bunch of plants up in this area. Or we're gonna try to use that, like the roots of those plants as a barrier, so that way the aqua soil doesn't really get into the sand too much, because it does get annoying. But we'll go ahead and pick some plants out. He has a really good selection, so we will go over there next.
So, as you can see, Doug's got a pretty great selection of plants, from stem plants to mid-ground plants to foreground plants, and this is where I come to get all of my plants for the tanks that I set up. So if you're ever in the San Diego area, definitely hit this place up. And just a little tip, he usually gets his plants in every other week on Thursday, so I like to come Friday mornings just to get like first selection of all the new stuff. So I'm going to be using this bag of mixed sequoia scatter gravel just to add a little more detail to the scape. This isn't a necessary step, but it just kind of gives like a nice final touch. So you just take a handful and just kind of put it up against the base of the rock. There's no like secret technique, like you just kind of throw it in there. and it kind of gives a more realistic look to the scape. I did notice that some of the little pieces of the gravel didn't exactly match the rock I used for the hardscape, just because like the shapes were a little irregular and the colors, like there was some yellow and red tones in some of the little pieces of gravel, but I left them in there anyways, and I thought it made the scape look a little more interesting. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, so first we're gonna go in with some Cryptoparva. I'm gonna plant all of the mid-ground plants first, and then I'll go ahead and start planting the stem plants. But I try to go for a variety of plants just because it adds more to the scape, in my opinion. I think it looks better when there's a variety of them. But I think I'm gonna go for a few of these over in this area, and then I'll probably put some Crips over here, and then I'm not super sure here yet, but I'm gonna definitely put some stem plants in the back. But I'll go ahead and start planting these. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you just pop it out of that pot, and then you kind of open it here, and then you take the little pieces out.
So somehow I lost the earlier footage of planting the tank, but you didn't miss too much. I'm just planting the Crips. We decided to go ahead and continue the Cryptoparva in the very middle and kind of take it to the back of the tank just to kind of create the illusion of a path because we thought that would look pretty cool. So that is what I'm doing here. Next, I'm going to be planting some Pogo Steamin Healthfury Downoi. I don't know. I am not good with my pronunciations of these plant names, but I'm just placing it right here just because I thought it looks nice in this area. Up next, we have some Eusteralis stenata, probably butchering this name as well, but this stem plant I'm just going to be placing in that back left corner over there. For this next stem plant, I'm going to be planting it in groups of like 3 or 4 at a time because it gives more of a full look when you're planting your tank just from the start. The other stem plants I only planted one at a time just because they have like such a thick stem already. But with the smaller stem plants you can plant them in groups. Here's a little aerial view of what the tank looks like now that it's planted, and all that's left to do now is fill it up. So we started off the time lapse with the hose as you saw, but then Doug informed me that this is how you really fill up a tank. And maybe that is true if your arms are not little noodles like mine. But anyways, fill your tank how you like and enjoy the rest of the time lapse.
Alright guys, so the tank is all done and set up. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys are ever in the San Diego area, you should check out this shop. It's called Love Aquarium and it's in Escondido, and you'll run into Douglas here.
We're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, open 10:30 to 6:30, 11 to 6 on Sundays, but we're here all the time. We're here to help. Yeah, come by, check us out. Take a gander at our fish, corals, plants, all the goodies we got. And if you got any questions, of course, bring those too.
Yeah, and you can even come see the tank or maybe buy it. Your choice. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe. And leave a comment down below what you guys think of the tank. Say something nice to Doug, maybe.
Please.
But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.